Hey, Joey, welcome to the show. Really glad to have you here. Why don't you take a second to introduce yourself and let us know the problem that you're currently having.
Yeah, so my name is Joey Bidner, and I am a freelance Google Ads manager. I manage only Google Ads and Microsoft Ads accounts ranging from $2,000 a month to about $1 million a month in ad spend. And one of the persisting issues that I have not yet found a platform to solve this problem is effectively tracking and reporting on changes that I make in accounts. So because I manage so many accounts, it often occurs where I make a change. Let's say it's small or big, anything from a bid adjustment to a major structural change. But I'll make a change and I will forget I made that change. I hate to admit it, but I will forget I make that change. And I do things to remind myself, right? I'll make a note in Google Ads, or I'll put something in my calendar to say, touch base on this account in 2 weeks to see how the change, see the result of the change. But that's the issue. I'm hoping for a tool where I can say, okay, I made a change on this date. Send me an email in 2 weeks with the results, and here are the KPIs I want to track. That way, the results are brought to me as opposed to me having to go back and chase them.
Okay. Yeah, that makes total sense. All right, Joey, let me walk you through what I built for this use case. Here is the tool. We have it, branded with your agency. And then we have all the sections that you're going to need to create the experiment. So, you put in whatever you want the test name to be. I'll just put in like test 4. Your email, which is where you would.
And I guess with that email, that's where I would get my notifications.
Yes, and then if you want like several ones, you could do a comma, add more.
Nice.
If you had a Slack channel, we could also hook it up to a Slack, and have that kind of chirp in that area as well. And then here's where you have the drop down of all your accounts. And then once you select the Google Ads account, and you could select. Right now it's one at a time. So one feature we could add is like, let's say you wanted to run a test across multiple accounts and campaigns at the same time. That's something we could add in. But right now it's assuming you are doing, a test in one environment. And then here's all the in-platform metrics that you could check to see, the net change in the test period.
I love it.
You could also see either on the campaign level or the account level what those changes are for those metrics. And then start date is pretty straightforward. Let's say, we launched the test today and then we end it the 24th.
Yeah, so would end date be the date that it's going to report to me?
Yes. So, it's going to report on the day after because it wants full date ranges for its calculation. And then what this automatically does is it will use this as like a benchmark and look at the previous same period and show you like the before and after on the metrics you select. So once you put this in, you click create experiment and it will basically set everything in motion. And once you have it in there, it'll show up here as like scheduled. And then once the date comes that the test needs to be reported, it'll look like something like this where it shows that it's completed, and then here it shows that the clicks have declined. So,
nice.
And you have it show up in your email account as well. So
I think that's the best part, that it's gonna like notify me by email. So again, like if it was something that notified me in Google Ads, for example, if I didn't check the account, I wouldn't see it. But the fact that it comes to my email, I can't miss it, and then that's worth its weight in gold. Good work.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to show you like a bit of what is it called, under the hood, like what's going on.
Yep.
And yeah, I'm going to try to explain it in a way where it makes sense even if you've never touched any of these tools. So everything's built in N8n in terms of logic, and then Replit is a tool that helps you build apps from scratch using like LLMs. So that's where I built the front end interface, like this whole dashboard. But the crazy thing is, Joey, is like all of this is ran through a Google Sheets. Like that is that's the data source. So we have 2 sheets here for the form state, which includes all your accounts and campaigns, and then the test schedule. So theoretically speaking, I could have delivered and just given you this Google Sheets and like it would have done the same thing. But I think this extra dashboard makes everything look, a bit more sexy. So
Definitely.
yeah, let's kind of walk through what is going on here. So first, we have a daily 3 a.m. trigger. So this workflow is going to run every day at midnight. And in the beginning, what we're doing is we're actually fetching all the Google Ads accounts. So let me see if I could pull an example. I'm just showing the different data flows here in my executions. So I'm like showing you how things are moving through the workflow. So, it's just simply pulling all the accounts using the Google Ads developer key from your MCC. We're processing all the account data, sort of like splitting them out into separate accounts. And then this is where I mentioned earlier, we need wait nodes in between those Google Sheet nodes, because every time you call it, it adds to the rate limit. And if you call it too often, it might just like give you an error. So we're clearing that first sheet every morning, the accounts. And in case you onboard a new client or you make a new campaign, that will make sure that every day it's updated if you ever decide to make a new experiment. And then we're just processing the campaign data. So like organizing it nicely for Google Sheets. And then I'm filtering by the active campaigns, because if they're not active, we can't really run tests on them. And then finally, I'm just, pushing that through in that first sheet. So that's the simple kind of part of this workflow. And that just makes sure that every time this app is pulling in from that Google Sheets, that the accounts and campaigns are accurate. So once that's done, every day it's also going to check the scheduled tests. So I'm going to go to another one here, copy to editor. So what this one's doing is it's reading the current scheduled tests. So that's this second part. And it's just checking to see if any tests are due. Because like we mentioned earlier, whatever that last day is of the test date, it's going to be due on the day right after that. And if that is the case, then it's going to actually check the benchmarks. So that's when it formats the test. So this gets it ready for the rest of the workflow to check the right metrics. And then again, just confirming if the test is due. If the result date is before the new date, then that means the test is ready. And the new date is just like the existing current date. And then we're just basically doing the same call to the Google Ads API, just different timelines. So it's dynamically selecting the metrics we need, the campaigns that we are testing, and also the dates during which the test is running. So this one's, the trial, the test period, and this is the previous period. And once it does that, we're just, merging all the data together so we could process it. And then we have a simple code node that determines the results. So it's basic math that you could do yourself, but it's easy to just create code that automatically configures it. So no AI involved at all. This is all just basic data processing and pretty UI. And then once that is done, then that's when you get your email to for the test results. I'm actually going to execute this so we can take a look. All right. So once the test is complete, this is what it looks like. So that was the name of the test. It shows test failed because the metrics went down on the clicks, and then it shows its test period. And
interesting. So. Very cool. Yeah, I love how clean and simple it is.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Cool. So that was that part. And then it's also just pushing it back to the Google Sheets to show the test as completed. That way in that app, it is also accurate. That's how this turns into completed. And then the last part of this workflow is the webhook. So let me see which one it was that I saved it in. So I'm going to copy this to editor. So I think the trickiest part of this whole project is once you put in the test into the app, once you create the experiment, this needs to push back into N8n to actually like put it into the Google Sheets. So that's what this webhook does. It listens for events that come into this URL, and basically it like lets this workflow know when the test is created. So this is like what the data looks like when it comes in. It's kind of, there's like a bunch of stuff here, but what we really want is what's coming in through the form. So that's what this node does, is just like organize that for, you know, the rest of the workflow. So it actually like creates that email right away. So you would get a confirmation email once you create an experiment, if, you know, if there's no errors. And then that also gets formatted to Google Sheets and saved in that second row right here. So, but yeah, I would say that's, you know, the whole project. It's like,
well, what I love is that most of that complicated backend stuff that you took care of, I won't have to really interact with, right? I get to use this beautiful clean UI of just the input and then see the output. So that's what makes me really, really happy.
Yeah. And the way we built this out is like everything was done on my end. Like you didn't have to make any accounts, you know, you didn't have to like set up anything. The only, you know, thing we had to do was get that developer key, which was a little bit of work. But I just realized, you know, there's no
Pretty
need
easy,
for you to create an account or do anything, because you don't, like, your goal is not to, you know, get too involved with this kind of stuff. You just want things that are ready for you to use, so you could focus on doing things that, you know, you find more meaningful. So
yeah, exactly. Keeping it as, you know, clean and simple from a like my hands in the developer side of it out as possible, right? Because I don't know that world. I just know how to, you know, apply it to my accounts in terms of using the data to make decisions. So I think that's the best part in all of this, is that it's something that, you know, your brain put together, cooked up, and then I can use those clean UIs to make decisions from my tests. So yeah, I think you did a great job.
thank you. Yeah, appreciate it. All right, Joey, thanks for hopping on the show. This was really fun to build. And yeah, I'm looking forward to more ideas that you have that I could, you know, kind of build and turn into reality. So thank you.
My pleasure. Yeah. Thanks for having me.